the Father factor.
Because of the Father factor.
I can look forward to what I have in the future. Well, let me say it again. Say this. Because of the Father factor.
Because of the Father factor.
I can look forward to what life has to feature.
Yeah.
Woo! Go on, let them F's fly again. Just look at somebody and say, because of the Father factor, I can look forward to what life has to feature. See, because of the Father factor, I can look forward to what life has to feature.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that about my life, and I don't have time to tell you my whole journey, but my journey, for as long as it was a creature feature.
Yeah.
But you know what? Now that because of the Father factor in my life, I see it as a double feature.
Yeah.
Because it's not only me going through it, I got somebody right here with me, and every now and then in my life, I have to get out of myself and sit down and rest myself in the Lord. Grab me some popcorn, look at the screen and say, what is God going to do next? Look at you in that situation. How you going to get out of that? I might as well just sit here and watch the feature. Look at somebody and say, watch the feature. Watch the feature. Watch what God does next. Because of the Father factor, I can look forward to what life has to feature.
Amen.
James 1:7 says this. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Father above, in whom there is no variable or shadow of turning. What that means, the variable shadow of turning, it means that whatever display of light, whatever ray of light is no different from the other one. In other words, what that's really saying is that it comes from the Father of light, and if it's going to be good, it's going to be good in every kind of way.
Yeah.
That means what you think is bad is really set up for your good.
Yeah.
And so all you got to do is watch the feature. Watch how God pulls it together. I look at this in my life. So I grew up as a kid without a dad. Didn't know how I was going to make it. Felt that I was just going to simply be another statistic in the street. I was going to be another black man in jail. I was going to be another black man on the run. I was going to be another black man without kids, with kids without a wife, with a broken home. And it was God that started to bring other fathers around me.
Come on now.
And in my life, I saw the feature unfold. I saw how God unfolded everything. And when I gave my life to Christ, I got connected and started sitting up under men of God. And let me tell you something. Right down the street from here, it happened about 6 years ago. My dad got an aneurysm.
Jesus.
Was his second one.
Oh.
My dad was a tough dude. Went through a lot of stuff, a lot of pain, a lot of hell. He had a second aneurysm. My dad was a joker. My dad had me taking him to crack houses, and I didn't know they were crack houses. He was saying, just can you give me a ride? Because what started happening is I wanted to start connecting with my daddy. He got out of jail, he started getting his life together, and I wanted to hang out with him. So I started hanging out with him weekly, going to spend some time with him, and we'd have the weirdest adventures. I'm like, Daddy. I didn't even know. Remember that time he asked me to take him to his friend. He's like, oh, this is just an old war buddy. And I dropped him off at his old buddy's house. Nobody was there. Lights wasn't on. He said, no, it's okay. He just keeps the lights out. It was daytime. I was like, okay, cool. We came in there on that night. And I'm so vulnerable. I'm so just didn't even think about what's going on. We come back late. It was about 6 or 7 o'clock. No lights on. My wife rolls up. My wife is hood. She was like, baby, this is a crack house. This ain't your friend, your daddy's old war friend. This is a crack house. And so we got him, and I told him, Daddy, I can't take you to crack houses no more. You know, you can't be doing that to you. I'm your son, the preacher. I can't be taking you to the crack house. So, long story short, 6 years ago, my dad had an aneurysm, and he was there in Baylor Hospital right down the street from here. And I remember when I walked in, and I looked, and he looked up at me, And one of the things that they used to say about me, and I used to hate it. I used to hate it. They used to say that I got a smile just like my daddy. They used to call it the Lynch smile. I got the big smile that when I smile, all you see is teeth and my eyes squint. You don't even know when I'm looking at you because I'm just, and I just talk, and everything, all of you show you everything. And I got that from my daddy. And as I was a kid, I used to hate because I'd smile and say, boy, you look just like your dad. And when I would hear that, I would equate that to say, you're going to be just like your daddy. You're going to end up in the penitentiary just like your daddy. See, let me tell you about the future. Just real quick. See, let me tell you about the future. I didn't tell you this part. That when I was a kid growing up, one day I was in my crib before my dad went to the penitentiary. I was in my crib. And when I was in my crib and I was crying as a little child, probably about 4 miles from here over in Oak Cliff, I was crying as a little baby in my crib. And my dad came and my mother asked my dad, watch the kids. I got to go to the store and get something for Fred Jr. And so watch the kids. She came back and I was crying. When I was crying, my dad, something clicked in the back of his head and it took him back to Vietnam. It took him back to that little girl. They said they found me when they got home. They found me bloody from head to toe, and my dad was just trying to get me to stop crying. After that incident, my dad went to the penitentiary. And for years, I thought it was my fault. I thought it was my fault. You know kids, they don't put it all together.
Yeah.
And so for years, I thought it was my fault my daddy went to the penitentiary. And for years, I used to pray a prayer that many of you, if you come from a broken home, you probably know this same prayer. You probably finish it for me. I used to say, God, please bring my family back together. I prayed so much I thought that it would never happen, so I stopped praying. Let me tell you about the future, though. Let me tell you how God brings the future together. I gave my life to Christ the first night that I ever preached. I was 16 years old. First night I ever preached. I used to pray that prayer, God, bring my family back together. So much I forgot praying it. God answered that prayer for one night. Because the very first night I ever preached, my mama, my daddy, my brother who was in gangs, my sister, and me were all in the same place, and all of us gave our lives back to Christ and gave our hearts to God, bowed our knees to the Lord Jesus Christ and gave our lives. So God said, what I'll do is I'll take one day out of your life and make that prayer come true, so it'll come true for the rest of eternity if you just trust to me and watch the future.
Yeah.
My dad is in an aneurysm, and I come in the house. I come in the hospital, and he looks up and he sees me, and there he goes, that big old smile. And then I smile back at him because I know he's alive. And he said, boy, that was looking like, he said, that looked like looking at myself walk through the door. And from there, we start building a relationship for the next 5 years of his life before he died. Let me end this out really quick. Last one. Somebody say, because of the Father factor.
Because of the Father factor.
I can go further than I ever fathomed.
I can go further than I've ever fathomed.
Yeah, look at somebody and say, because of the Father factor, I can go further than I've ever fathomed.
Than I ever fathomed. Yeah.
Mark 10:29, Jesus said that no man leaving houses, fathers, brothers, land, sister, mother, that if you leave all of that for my sake, he said, I'll give it back to you. You may not know how it comes back to you, but it'll come back to you 100-fold. And God blessed me. Let me show you real quick. Let me close up how God blessed me by taking me further than I could ever fathom.
Yeah.
Because of the Father factor. My daddy got himself healed. He got over the aneurysm. And one particular day, now he's in a nursing home. He's about to die. And every week I would go out and hang out with him. And we go to Starbucks. He'd sit up, we'd have coffee, he'd have a cigarette, and we'd look at YouTube concerts of different people that were his favorite artists. So he'd look at James Brown and Anita Baker and the Temptations and Gladys Knight and the Pips. Y'all don't know about that. Y'all don't know about all of that, you know. And we just sit up and then we talk about life. One particular day he was really upset and I was like, Daddy, what's wrong? One last thing I didn't tell you. See, my daddy was abused by his daddy sexually and physically. who he was part of 8 siblings, and all 8 of them were abused by Fred Douglass Lynch Sr., my granddaddy, who was a deacon in a church not 5 miles from this spot that I'm preaching at.
My God.
He was a deacon in the church, and he abused